welcome to our broadcast today. My name is Cindy Speaker, and I have with me as my guest, Attorney David Daggett of Daggett, Shuler, Attorneys at Law. David, thanks for being with us.
Hi, Cindy. Good to be with you today.
Always good to see you.
Yes. I think the cold weather's behind us.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about workers' compensation and navigating the system. So what I want to do is start out. I mean, it's a complicated system. And the first question is, if you're injured at work, how do you even know if your injury is covered?
Well, injuries at work are covered under the workers' compensation system, and it basically you have to be employed by an employer who has 3 or more employees, and you have to have an injury by accident. An accident means a fall, a trip, a hit, something like that. So it's got to be an accident.
Okay.
Or if you have, there's some exceptions, like for your back, or if you have a hernia, there has to be a specific traumatic event that you can point your finger to.
Okay.
There's a few other exceptions. I actually took one to the Supreme Court 30 years ago and won on an exception. But there are some exceptions. But basically, you have to be injured by accident. The big exception that applies most often is a back, and on that there has to be a specific traumatic event. Basically meaning you have to be able to point to a specific point in time when you hurt your back.
Okay.
It can't just start aching and build up over time.
Okay. But basically, anybody injured that is working through a legitimate employer that has workers' compensation insurance is covered no matter what that injury is. Is that correct?
That's correct. And they're covered even if they don't have workers' compensation insurance if they have 3 or more employees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Very good.
That adds an additional fight, but yes.
Okay, now what about the doctor? Do you go to your own doctor, or do you have to go to their doctor? How does that work?
Well, here's the problem with the workers' compensation system. For most workers that have never been through anything like this before, it's a very tricky and complicated system to navigate. One of the tricky parts of it is the employer gets to choose your doctor, and you have to go to the employer's doctor. So the system is stacked against the worker.
Yeah.
And this is where if you have a serious case, so something little, if you cut your finger at work and you got to go to the doctor and it doesn't, maybe a couple stitches and you're fine and there's no disability and you go on just fine, that's handled through workers' compensation. That's probably not a big deal. Right. But in any situation where you're out of work for a significant period of time, where you have a surgery, where you have ongoing limitations, where you have ongoing pain, or most importantly, where it affects your future employability or your ability to do this job, you definitely are going to need help just working your way through the system.
Okay.
Because it's tricky, it's complicated, and quite frankly, the outside political forces, the change in the statutes that have happened over the past couple of years, they've made it rough on our good, hard-working people in our community. I think that's unfair.
Right.
But our good, hard-working people in our community, when they're hurt at work, they deserve to get those benefits that they're entitled to.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you got to fight for them.
Yeah, and speaking of that, when you're getting your benefits, they come, I guess, on a weekly basis or biweekly. Right. What if those checks stop? What do you do? And does that happen?
The checks stopping, that's a signal that you got a problem and you need to consult legal representation. A lot of people are hesitant to seek legal representation because a lot of us, we love our employer. We've worked for our employer for a long time. Remember, your case usually is not against your employer, it's against their workers' compensation insurance company.
Right.
That is a very, very different thing.
Yeah.
Don't confuse you get hurt at work and your boss is nice to you to the insurance company cutting off your checks. Those are 2 very, very different things.
Right.
And when the insurance company cuts off your checks, you better talk to a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good point. And along those lines also, what about if you get fired? You're injured. I mean, can that happen, and what recourse?
Sure, it can happen. So there's a specific statute that your employer can't fire you because you have a workers' compensation claim. However, in North Carolina, we're an employment at will state, which basically means unless it's some form of discrimination, your employer can discharge you for whatever reason they want to discharge you. Okay. Again, if you get hurt at work and your employer fires you, that's a pretty good signal that your workers' compensation claim is going to be pretty rough, and you better get some help.
Right.
Unfortunately, that happens.
That's a shame, and I suppose
it's not only a shame; it's kicking somebody when they're down. It's more than a shame; it's wrong.
Are there actually situations, and there probably are, but where the person is out of work because of the work injury, and they get fired when they're out of work, or is it when they come back and then they get fired? What scenarios do you usually see?
Both.
Wow.
And so sometimes they let you come back to work, and then they look for a way to terminate your job. So in those situations, and typically, again, you're dealing with those situations where the injury is more serious.
Yes.
The more serious the injury, the more the need to have an attorney help you.
Yeah. And how do you know that you're getting all the benefits that you are entitled to?
Well, unfortunately, you don't, because the system is very complicated, particularly your benefits for future benefits. So those are when you have permanent disability, permanent scarring, permanent loss of a bodily function, permanent aptitude changes. That's meaning mental, psychological, whatever, brain injury, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Any of those situations, those are the situations where you need outside help.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
The good news is most quality workers' compensation lawyers will give a free consultation, right. and we tell folks, so sometimes they don't need us, and we say, look, you don't need a lawyer in this situation. Here's what you do. Best wishes to you. If anything changes, give us a call. Sometimes we say, you need somebody now, and we'd be happy to help you.
And it sounds like for any type of serious injury, you really have to have an attorney.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm so proud of our workers' compensation team here at Daggett Shuler. They take great care of the clients, and I mean, it's almost uniformly they give us glowing reviews at the end of our cases, and our folks take it personally because we understand that this is your livelihood, and that doesn't, for most of us, that doesn't just affect us. It affects our spouse, our families, our children, and it's important. So it's important to us too.
Yeah. Well, David, and I've known you for quite a few years, but you truly are a community law firm. I mean, people that deal with your firm, I see the reviews, I see the comments. You are loved. I mean, people come to you and feel like they're part of the family.
Well, we do. We have a great team, and they are part of the family. I mean, my kids, when they were little, they ask what I do at work, and I half jokingly say, well, I spend a lot of time in the lobby just hugging people, and because they are. They're part of our family. We care about them a lot.
I know you too.
And I'm so proud of our team and just the good job they do helping people who are many times going through, the very worst thing they've ever gone through in their life. And we're there for them. We understand how meaningful that responsibility is, and we take that very seriously.
David, how can someone reach you if they have questions?
So lots of information on our website, daggettshulerlaw.com, or can call us at 336-724-1234. And again, our team would be happy to help or give direction where we can.
Very good. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. To those of you watching, if you have questions or comments, you can leave it on this page. We'll get your questions answered, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.